Welcome to another special edition of Gentle Somatic Yoga, Yin, acupressure, and other tools. Today, as a special request, we're working the liver channel and the liver meridian. And the liver channel controls quite a few interesting things. When it's imbalanced, it's associated with feelings of anger, frustration, and resentment. And when in balance, it's more about happiness, contentment, and kindness. So we're going to, physically, we pretty much know how important the liver is for detoxing. And oftentimes we focus on the liver channel in the spring. But really, any time that you need to detox, and particularly between seasons, is a great time to detox. And so getting things moving in the liver channel can help with that, especially if you have any stagnation in your body. And stagnation can show up in a lot of different ways. It can show up with headaches. It can show up with digestive issues. It can also show up with just feeling stuck. So we'll start with one of the liver points while we're seated. And the first liver point is, so find that space between your big toe and your second toe. And there's like an indent there between the metatarsals. And then go a little bit down from the toe toward the foot. And you may find a tender spot. And this is liver 3. So there are a couple of ways you can handle working with this. You could just press and release your thumb a few times. You could circle one direction and then circle the other way. You could just hold constant pressure there, or you could even tap there. So whichever way you prefer to work with it, go ahead and play around with this point. And just do it, meet yourself where you are. In other words, more is not better. Like really hard is not great for you. Just find a pressure that might feel like it's opening things up. So all of these channels are embedded in your fascial tissue as well. The liver channel, there are 14 points from the foot to the chest. And so from this spot that we've been working, go ahead and work the other one. It would go up the inside of the leg. And so you could even, after you've worked that spot, it's interesting because some of it traces pretty close to the spleen channel, which we worked recently. And so the liver and the spleen channels are both on the inside of the leg. So you might even keep one thumb on that point we were working, liver 3, and then take your other thumb or fingers and kind of work up and down the inside of the leg, looking for other tender spots. See if there's anything else I want to tell you about this. The liver channel is also very much connected to your connective tissues, the tendons. It's also about digesting emotions. So you can see how that's kind of related to the spleen too. The liver and the spleen work a lot together. And sensory organs are related to your eyes. So if you have blurry vision, red or dry eyes, or itchy eyes, all right, so let's go ahead and just release all that work. And maybe just move organically for a moment with your legs. Just, you might pedal, you might move the feet around. You could just kind of go in and out a few times. All right. And then we are going to come to standing for a little bit. So in any sort of gentle way, make your way up to standing. You might do a downward dog if you're feeling that. But if you're not, don't worry about it. Take your time, get yourself up to standing. Oh, that was a nice creak and crack. All right. So just for a moment, walk around your room and check in. Just see how you're walking today. Just check in. What's moving, what's not moving? And let's, for a moment, stand in what feels like a balanced position. And you can do a little bit of adjustment here. And once you feel like you have found balance, if you feel safe to do so, just close your eyes and do a full body scan. Just notice things like, are you leaning more on one foot than the other? So dividing your body in half to left and right sides. It's kind of interesting. I almost feel like my right side is lower down than my left side. My left side is like elevated. So do this kind of conversation with yourself in a very non-judgmental way. It's a curious way. The minute you get into judgment, you have moved into fight and flight. Stay curious. Stay compassionate as you are scanning yourself. This is information gathering only. It's witnessing. It's not about judging. But you can determine a lot by observing. You can determine enough so that you can make small adjustments. Like I might want to adjust a little bit while I'm standing here to find a more comfortable balance. That's the kind of thing that you're doing. Maybe slightly bending a knee, maybe drawing shoulders in a little bit different way. Just make these small adjustments for comfort. You're seeking comfort. All right, so let's go ahead and do a little more movement. So we will be working up the inside of the legs today and up through here. So widen the legs and then just do a gentle squat. And you could add some arms in. Notice this area working all the way down the inside of the legs. And then hook your arms behind your head. And the next time you squat down, just tilt, come back to the center, tilt, and back to the center. And notice where you're starting to open up. Do this gently. Now turn your feet toward the front. And if you're not going down to the ground these days or reaching for a block, you might reach for the wall or for a seat of a chair. So if I'm reaching for a seat of a chair, then my head is staying like about here, right? Rather than going all the way down, whichever one you've decided to do. Just hang here for a minute. If you're only going halfway, keep the head above the heart. so you don't get dizzy. If you're going the full way, you're just dropping the head, neck, and shoulders down. You determine what's more appropriate today. So from whatever position you're in, either here or here, we're going to pump our arms up in a slight twisting action. So you're going to bend an elbow and lift and come back. Bend an elbow, lift, and come back. If you're doing this from the ground, it would look like this. Each time in between, soften completely. So wherever you're landing, you're softening and then reactivating and then softening and reactivating muscles and softening. You should be feeling this all along the side body, as well as strengthening those inner thighs. All right, so from whatever position you're in, either here or there, come halfway, bend the knees, lengthen the spine, stay here for a moment or two, and breathe. And then stand all the way up, draw your legs together, and walk around the room again. Okay. We'll do just a standing balance series before we make our way back down. And so what I'd like for you to do, if you're willing to today, is try the balance with different eye positions. So the first balance would be, looking straight ahead. So if you're going to do like a mini tree pose, or sometimes when my knee's hurting, I do my tree more like this rather than go off to the side. So find any sort of tree pose and then look ahead at something and breathe. You could do some different things with your arms if you feel like it, but your eyes are pretty steady ahead of you, okay? All right, and go ahead and release that and try that on the other side, keeping a steady gaze, eyes straight ahead. Going into, I'm really doing more of a half lotus just because my knee is bothering me. I'm not doing a real tree pose today. Breathing. Okay, all right. So the next thing I want you to do is do that same pose you're doing, but I want your eyes to look off to the side, okay? So look off somewhere to the side and do that same pose. So my eyes are not forward right now. They're looking off to the side. And just notice if that makes it a little more challenging. Whoa, it definitely does for me. All right. And then I'm going to do the other way, and I'm going to have my eyes look to this side. So now your eyes are looking sort of opposite direction of which leg you're sticking out. So I'm looking off to the side. Okay. Now have your eyes looking toward the direction that your knee is up. So we're going to try one more of this. So now if my right knee is up, my eyes are going to be looking right. Before, my eyes were looking left when my right knee was up. So this is really good for balance, to challenge your kind of visual perception. Obviously, the ultimate, which I have not been able to master, is be able to keep your eyes closed while you're balancing. I don't know. It's really difficult. So, okay, so whoa. Okay, now my eyes are, this is to me the hardest. Looking off to the side where my knee is up. really difficult for me. Okay, well, go ahead and shake that out. I think we've challenged our balance enough for one day. Maybe walk around the room one more time. Okay. And make your way down to seated, and we'll do some seated poses. Oh. So let's go ahead. We're going to do the Gentle Somatic Yoga as well as the yin pose for here. So this is half butterfly. Half butterfly, one leg's out and one leg is in. And go ahead and lean over and just see where your initial range of motion is. The reason we do this is the brain needs contrast. And what we're doing is we're providing it contrast to change instead of criticism to change. So we're just saying to the brain, okay, this is where I am now. Let's do some movements and see if we can change my range of motion. Face your outstretched leg. I do this a lot, but I think it's really an effective gentle somatic yoga routine. So lift up, engage your back body, fall over, soften, and draw your hands back. Inhaling, lift, and your arms can stretch completely up if that feels appropriate. Fall over and come back. The more you can do this with your eyes closed, the more you are paying attention to what you are sensing internally. Come back to seated for a moment and reverse direction. So sense the movement. Have your breath be natural. Let's do this 3 times. Where are you feeling this? What are you feeling? Be really qualitative in your description, but not judgmental. After the third one, bend the knee up. Place the head close to the kneecap. Today, my head is okay on the knee. Create an energetic connection between the top of the knee and your head. Start to slide the foot away. Go slowly. The minute it starts to feel like it's tugging too much, release the stretch and come back to a neutral place. So my leg goes down, my body goes up, I'm softened here. And repeating that 2 more times. The idea is through this very safe, repetitive movement, you are working the nervous system to let go of chronically held tension. The slower you go, the more mindful you do this, the more effective it is. Okay, last time like this. Slow movement. Don't go past your edge in any of this. Only go to the edge. And then release and soften. All right. Now let's try the forward fold again. And hopefully you have released enough to be able to go much further down. And it feels good. And the idea is not to go further down just to say I can go further down, but that you can have comfort in that movement rather than discomfort. In between the 2 sides, stretch the leg out, both legs out in front of you. Lean back, open chest. Glide side to side. Stretch the other leg out. Draw the knee in. make any accommodations you might need. Again, I'm having trouble with this knee, so I'm going to support it more. Listen to your body, pay attention. Go forward first and see where your restrictions are. Notice what's pulling. Pay attention to it. Don't ignore it. Face the outstretched leg. Lift up on an inhale. Gently forward fold. On an exhale, come back. Lift. Use your breath. Forward fold. Eyes are closed. And back. Third time. Lift. This is the engagement. Soften. Go forward. Release. Come back. Reverse direction. Reach out forward and then lift up. Use your breath to open up spaces. Third time, notice. What are you noticing? Compare this side to the other side. What feels different? Not in a judgmental way, but in a contrasting way. The contrast is what the brain needs. Knee is bent now, head is close to the knee. It's energetically connected until you cut the string and release and soften back to neutral. 2 more times like this. Maybe your body is allowing you to stay head to knee a little longer. But don't go past what feels nourishing. Last time. Head to knee, foot slides away. I forgot to spread my blanket out. But my mat's kind of slippery. If you have a slippery mat, not one of those mats that have all those things, and maybe you don't need a blanket. But if your mat is sticky, and a lot of them are, then the blanket is super helpful. Go ahead and go back into a forward fold and see what has released, what is still holding on. The back of my hip is still tugging a little bit. Just take note of these things. Draw your feet in front of you, hands behind you, fingers pointed away. Open up the chest. And breathe. So another acupressure point that actually opens the liver and supports it is actually not on the liver meridian, but it's they support each other. I can't remember which meridian this is on, but right below the collarbone, a little bit out to the side, are another points that are very supportive to detoxing in your liver channel. So once again, you could tap it. You could put constant or continuous pressure, or you could do circling, whatever feels like the right amount of work for you. And there's one other point, which is like 4 fingers below the belly button. And this one, when we're laying down on our backs, we can kind of play around with that point, which is also very supportive of the liver and detoxing. And again, this is a request class, so I am focusing on the liver. Okay, we're going to do full dragonfly with both legs wide. And on full dragonfly, some people need to elevate their hips because this can, for a lot of people, round their spine too much. So in this full dragonfly position, Shift your weight from side to side. Feel these sit bones. And for a moment, close the eyes and notice, are you putting more weight on one side than the other? Again, this is not a judgment. This is just an observation. An observation so that if you wanted to move a little differently, you are noticing your habits and therefore gently offering choices. So this is all about choice points. That's a lot of the somatic yoga originated from the Feldenkrais method of moving. And it's very much about choices. So you can choose to transfer your weight a little bit more. Now, from this position, just start to slowly circle your body, circling it. And again, noticing. And now let's reverse the direction, circling. What are you noticing? Are you shifting the weight from one side of the pelvis to the other? Let's go back and forth a few times. Really exaggerate it. And then close your eyes for a minute, interlace hands behind the head, open the chest, draw elbows together, chin to chest. So you're really leaning again. When you open the chest and draw the elbows out, imagine you're kind of leaning forward a little bit, tilting the pelvis forward. When you're closing the elbows, chin to chest, rounding out the stomach, you're leaning back. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Now, for a moment, go back to that original position and then start circling again and see if your circles are a little bigger, have a little more comfort in them. You have a little more mobility. Just feel into this. Change the direction of the circles. What are you noticing? Does your body prefer circling one direction or the other? Draw feet toward each other. Now, if you need something underneath knees so that when your knees are out like this, you're not pulling so hard, go ahead and do that. And let's lean forward and back a few times. See how the pelvis moves when you have your legs in more of a butterfly position. When you lean forward, go ahead and go forward. See how that feels. Don't push it. And then when you come to seated, draw knees toward each other. Lean forward again. Knees go out, soften. Come back, knees come in. One more time. And knees come in. So from this knees in position, do a little bit of isometric action where your hands are pressing a little bit against the legs as the legs are pressing a little bit out. You don't want to have this be like to the point where your arms are shaking, just enough to feel a little feedback. And stop at a few points along the way. So stop here, stop there. And then when you've gotten to your full range of motion, let it go. Soften. Let's do that 2 more times. Pressing out while the hands are slightly pressing in. Just feel what we're doing is engaging the muscles. We're engaging the muscles, so then when we soften the muscles, there's again the contrast, release. That's a release muscle. One last time, and pick a different spot to pause. So like maybe pick closer or further away, or not the exact same spot. And then forward fold again, and see if you've been able to release and allow yourself to go deeper into your forward fold with comfort. Go ahead and stretch those legs out again and just do something that feels neutralizing. Doesn't have to be any big movement. Some people prefer complete stillness in between. Let's go ahead and check in any sort of seated position that you can sit in. Let's do a check-in just to notice what might feel a little different than the beginning of class. Do you have a little more ease in your body? Are things flowing more? Can you sense a flow of energy, even through the liver channel, which starts between the big and second toe, goes up that foot, and then crosses into the inside of the leg, and then comes up, and then goes up through the middle of the body, and eventually makes its way up, believe it or not, up to the head, around the eyes. Just check in. What do you notice? So while we're seated, and before we get down to the ground, let's go ahead and do our mudra practice, because the rest of what we'll be doing is on the ground. And I wanted to do a very simple mudra called the Adi Mudra, which is the gesture of primordial stillness. So this idea of stillness is very interesting, because a dysregulated nervous system does not allow you to be still. You just don't feel comfortable being still. And stillness doesn't mean no movement necessarily. It can have a little bit of rocking movement or something like that, but there is a settling. And so this mudra is very good for settling your nervous system so that you're able to get into stillness. It's the simplest hand posture ever. Tuck your thumbs in your fingers, period. Thumbs are tucked in, the fingers are around it. So it's like a fist with the thumbs in, okay? And then just place some face down. Fist with thumbs in, place some. Okay, so Adi means primordial. Primordial is the stillness, which is your essential being, if you can get yourself into a quieted nervous system state. So put your thumbs like that and just notice what you're noticing in your nervous system. Check it out. What are you noticing? Is there a buzz, or has it settled down at all? Where is your breathing going when your hands are in this position? This has a 0 on the energy scale, from 0 to 10. It is the most relaxing of all the hand postures. So if you have trouble sleeping at night, whatever is going on, if you need to settle your nervous system down, place your hands in this position on your lap and just breathe. So as you hold this mudra, check in, tune in to the feelings and the sensations. Your breath is being gently directed downward toward the base of your body. Feel that downward movement of breath. Feel the stability and grounding that comes when you breathe all the way down. Pause at the end of each exhale. This is a space of silence in which your body and mind can come to some sort of rest. As you're breathing, see if you can tune into the pauses, not the breath, but the pauses. It's going to take a lot of concentration. Can you notice the pause? What are you noticing about the pause? So now we're going to actually direct the stillness to different areas of your body. First, direct the stillness to your pelvis, legs, and feet. So as you're breathing, visualize the stillness going all the way down. This is a firm foundation for your statue of stillness. Next, allow your abdomen, solar plexus, low and mid back to enter into this sanctuary of stillness. Relax. Become one with your statue of serenity. Now that your lower body is still and serene, take a few breaths, sensing your heart, the lungs, the chest, and upper back merging with your statue of stillness. What does this feel like? What does stillness feel like in your body? Are you comfortable with stillness? And if not, can you be curious and not judgmental about it? Stillness is now filling your shoulders, your arms and hands, going all the way up to your fingertips. Integrate these areas into your statue. You're softly breathing, but you're still. Finally, allow the stillness to permeate your neck and head and all of your senses. Your eyes, your ears, your nose, all of the senses are getting quiet. Finally, take some time to sense your entire being as a statue of stillness. It's a statue that's softly breathing, maybe undulating a little bit, but there's a sense of stillness within the nervous system. You can have a moving body with a still nervous system. It's just more restorative and requires less energy expenditure. Go ahead and repeat the following 3 times, aloud or silently. In absolute stillness, I experience peace and serenity. In absolute stillness, I experience peace and serenity. In absolute stillness, I experience peace and serenity. Release the hands, move the fingers, shake them out. Maybe shift the shoulders around, do something organic that allows your body to start moving again. And then we'll make our way just briefly onto our bellies, which is so good and strengthening for our back body. It also continues to stimulate the stomach meridian. If you have not already done so, you might want to have your blanket now stretched out for the lying down positions. And you have your strap nearby. If you didn't grab a strap, go ahead and grab that. Okay, so creating like a pillow by crossing one arm over the other arm, laying your head briefly down on there. Let's just activate our legs for a moment. So when your legs are soft, you may be on the top of your feet. Your heels might be kind of going out to the side. But when your legs are activated, your toes are tucked, your knees are drawing off the ground, and you feel the total engagement of your legs. Now you might lift up as well to feel the upper body also engage. Now, if this is too much for you with your arms pulled back like this, you can stretch your hands out and come a little lower down, not go quite so high up, or you can support your head. So just breathe here and then release everything. Release the legs, release the upper body. Let's do that 2 more times. Engage the legs first by tucking the toes, drawing knees off the ground. You might need to shift your hips a little bit to really feel the activation. Lifting up your upper body, either with arms crossed or hands out. Breathing. And then coming back down, maybe with the other cheek down. Releasing everything. Now we're going to add the side leg in, which will help us get into the liver meridian more. So to have one leg go off to the side a little bit in half crocodile pose. Engage the other leg by tucking the toes in, lifting the knee off the ground, and then lifting your upper body up, either with your arms in or arms out. Breathing, noticing where you're sensing this. And remove everything back to the neutral position. Release the legs in the windshield wiper. And then let's repeat that to the other side. Draw the knee off to the side. Engage the straight leg by tucking toes and lifting knee off the ground. Have the upper body come up. Notice this is a great place to contrast the one side to the other. What does this side feel like when I do this? Where am I feeling this? Go ahead and release everything back to neutral. Lift the bottom of the legs out and windshield wiper side to side. When you're windshield wipering, allow your hips to gently come off the ground. Make this a nice, smooth movement. And we will make our way onto the side just for one of those brief balances on the side, which is so good for our nervous system. So you are laying on your arm, the palm is facing down. You are imagining you're standing. So your eyes could be closed, but they don't have to be. But visualize as if you're standing. This is your standing, and think about it. You are balancing on a side of your body. Check in. What are you doing with your neck? Where are you feeling this? Are you equally using all the muscles here? And then if you can, bend your upper leg. And this is where you could either use a strap to grab around your foot, or if you want to play around with grabbing the toe, you can do this. Now, it's not that we're trying to get the leg all the way up. You probably could do that with the strap, or some of you might be able to do this with the grabbing, but you're just working some muscles and working your balance, really, is what we're doing. Can we balance like this? Where are we? Are we falling forward or back? And then if you want to straighten it completely up momentarily, you could. And still notice your balance. And then you might even try a side tree pose briefly. Notice how that shifts your balance. Before we go to the other side, let's go ahead and lay on our back. Just for a minute. This is the contrast again, contrasting the side that was just up in the air and the side you were working with each other. What feels different? Does something feel more alive and energized? Are you still noticing the liver channel, the inside of the leg from the top of the foot up? And then let's set up for the other side. You can just roll over if you want to, or if you want to keep facing me. Okay. So stretch the arm out completely. Palm is facing down. Your head is laying on the arm. Your legs are stretched out as if you were standing on your feet. Notice your balance on this side. What feels different about this? I'm definitely more tippy on this side, kind of tipping forward and back. Interesting. And then draw the leg up, either using the strap or the finger. Go up and down. Whoa, this one's definitely shakier. I might need my strap for this one. Huh. Yeah, this one's really getting my balance. Interesting. It's very interesting to notice how these things affect your balance. Ooh. So definitely check in with side to side, how it feels. If you're really struggling with staying balanced on your side like this, bend the knee of the supportive leg and give yourself a wider base to balance. All right. And then you can try a version of tree pose. See how that feels. And see what, what is adjusting. Your nervous system is adjusting to this position, trying to find a way to stabilize yourself. Just let it do it. Don't judge it. All right. Let's lay on our backs again. Check in. Whew. That's a lot of work. Ah, how are you feeling? What might be a nice thing to do here, if your body tolerates happy baby, is to do a happy baby pose, because we'll be still working the liver channel, but we can do a little bit of an inversion. So if you need to, for me, it's very helpful to have something under my low back here, so my back is not digging into the ground. And once again, you could reach for the toes. You could play around with the legs. Taking a couple of cleansing breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling with a sigh. We're going to end with cat pulling its tail as a really wonderful yin pose today. And we've been using the strap with this, which it gets into the liver channel, the stomach channel, the spleen channel. I mean, it's this like unbelievable pose when you add the strap. So there is a little setup involved. So you might need to watch me first, unless you've done this with me before. You might want something under the head, and you might want actually something to lean your top leg on as well. Then you might want something to be able to lay back on. So we're starting on our side. And your knees are bent, and start off with everything stacked. And take the top leg and stretch it out in front of your body. So the top leg is trying to go for perpendicular to your body, although that can be too much for a lot of people. Then the strap, and I forgot to tell you this, a nice big loop in the strap would be great. And my loop is, I don't know, maybe 4 feet or 3.5 feet. And then, you know, that bottom leg that's underneath, take one end of the strap and put it around that foot. The other end of the strap is going to go around your shoulder that's facing the sky. So what you're doing is you're pulling the quad is getting a stretch as your foot is going back, and your shoulder is also opening into a twist. Keep the buckle off your body. So if you have to slide it off, make sure you don't have a buckle leaning against a part of your body. So top leg is perpendicular to the body, foot is leaning on something. Bottom leg is bent back, getting your quad. You've hooked a strap around that foot. The other end of the strap is around your shoulder that's up in the air. And then you are opening to the back. The bolster is elevating the floor for you behind your back, so you don't have to twist as far. Your head can be neutral. And then just feel everything you're working in this pose. You're working the IT band. You're working the quad. You're working the hamstring. You're doing a twist. You're opening the shoulder. It's just the ultimate pose that does everything. So settle in if you can and breathe. Notice where you're feeling this. This has been a very interesting pose for me to add to my repertoire. I find the rest of the day, like after I've done this pose, I have a lot more ease and comfort in literally every part of my body. So very gently release the strap from the shoulder first, then release the bottom leg. And then lay on your back for a moment, and maybe you're going to want a windshield wiper. Maybe you're going to be still and stretched out. Just feel into this, what your body needs in between the sides. And then find your way to the other side. If you want to face me to see what's going on, you'll have to completely turn around. And so you've got a block or something to land your foot on in front of you. Maybe something is under the head to support your neck. You might have a pillow or a bolster behind you, and you have your strap. So starting off, laying on the side, supporting your head, bending both knees, stacking them. The top leg reaches in front of you, lands on your block somewhere. Now, you don't have to go completely perpendicular. On this side, I'm going a little less perpendicular. Take the strap, grab your underneath foot around the ankle. Pull that leg slightly back. Now you should feel that in the lower quad. The top of the strap goes around the upper shoulder. Make sure the buckle is not touching your body. So the buckle is in the middle there. And then open up towards your pillow so that you're going into a twisting action. You might have to adjust things, like this top leg does not want to be out so far. It's too much for this top leg. So I'm going closer to the bottom of my body instead of drawing that. But I'm still feeling the quad, still feeling the IT band, and just opening everything up. Just soften your breathing. Visualize all the channels in your body being opened. The blood and the lymph are flowing. The nervous system is communicating to every part of your body. Your breath is soft and gentle and undulating. You feel a quieting in your nervous system. So gently release the shoulder first, then the foot second. Gently, slowly shift yourself onto your back. Move things out of your way so that you could get yourself comfortable. Maybe you want to draw knees into chest and circle a few times, one direction, and circle the other direction. Maybe you want to flap your legs just a few times. And then find your way into what feels to you like the most appropriate, comfortable Shavasana, whatever. And maybe you're tired of being on your back and you want to do a seated meditation for our last little reading. Okay. Just check in. What are you noticing? Can you check in with curiosity and compassion to stay in that connected, safe, social, ventral vagal system? It's the ventral and the dorsal working together to create a sense of stillness. And this reading is called Patience. So according to Lao Tzu, there are three things to teach: simplicity, patience, and compassion. Patience is the second of Lao Tzu's central teachings, and it's a hard bit of wisdom to accept. For the place of waiting is always trying and very difficult to live out. Yet, quite honestly, it's the waiting that is the most important and rewarding practice. Fear wants us to act too soon, but patience, hard as it is, helps us outlast our preconceptions. This is how tired soldiers, all out of the ammo, can discover through their inescapable waiting that they have no reason to hurt each other. It's the same with tired lovers and with hurtful and tiresome friends. Given enough time, most of our enemies cease to be enemies because waiting allows us to see ourselves in them. Patience devastates us with the truth that in essence, when we fear another, we fear ourselves. When we distrust another, we distrust ourselves. When we hurt another, we hurt ourselves. So when hurt or afraid or confused, when feeling urgent to find your place on the earth, hard as it is, wait. And things, as you fear them, will more often than not shrink into the hard, irreplaceable beauty of things as they are, of which you have no choice but to be part. So in the last moment, bring to mind a situation that's now resolved, but at the time required you to be more patient than you were prepared to be. If you can, recall how you viewed the situation and the people involved when it was first presented and when your patience ran out. And then the situation resolved itself, and how waiting changed you. And what did waiting give you? So take your time. If you're not already seated, move parts of your body, come up to seated. We'll sound the bowl to signal the end of our time together. Gather any parts of today's practice that were particularly helpful and healing to you. Let's acknowledge the power of practicing together for all of our healing. Namaste.